They say humans haunted by Shinigami experience a life of misfortune, and that's ultimately what Light Yagami ended up with, a cursed life after coming into contact with the power that is the Death Note. Now, I adore any story that doesn't follow the trends for its protagonists and antagonists. Any story that doesn't make their lead out to be the shonen hero, do no wrong, and win every battle, and then makes their antagonist to be a Disney villain with nothing more than a one-dimensional mindset. I want a story to make me love, hate, laugh, and be disgusted with their characters depending on the episode. Writing stories where the general viewer will always like or dislike their characters is easy, and most do this with their stories. But the series that stick out after so many years are generally the ones that write their characters in a multi-layer fashion, and that's what Death Note did, and did very well. The morally gray is what I thirst for every single anime season. The idea that characters and people, in general, aren't this black and white, good or evil, and sadly that's all most characters will be for most series out there. But those aren't believable characters. Humans are complex, selfish, and they have flaws. Sometimes a perfect do-no-wrong character can work in your favor, or the opposite with absolute evil. But those are very rare cases where those archetypes won't seem basic. Series like Death Note handled the concept of what it means to be human in some of the best ways anime has ever seen, due to how it presented its characters. The main character, Light, is one of my all-time favorite anime characters, and it's not because I like him as a person or I rooted for him one way or another, but because he is a great example of what would happen if we were given an almighty power. What would happen if the rules of society were stripped away from us and we had the power to be a death god? What would a cursed life such as this look like? The idea of the Death Note is this all-powerful notebook that those whose names are written in it will die. It has a meaty set of rules that essentially lets you control how someone will die if you master the art that is the Death Note. What I've always adored about this concept is how if you would ask most people this question, would you use a Death Note if it was real? Most people would probably say no more often than not. We shouldn't take a life, it's not our right to do so. It's what we've built into our society that no matter what, murder is wrong. And it's a good aspect to ingrain into society, as if we didn't have this thought process, the world would be even more violent and dangerous than it already is. But most, I think, at the very least, would actually try it when not in the public spotlight, where we would respond with the morally right answer. Granted, many wouldn't think it's real, and probably wouldn't try it for that reason, but curiosity generally does get us in the end. Everyone can think of that one sick and twisted person on Earth, the serial killer who got away, the person currently exploiting others' sufferings for their own gain, and probably would at least try it at some point, because worst case scenario, the world lost one bad person. Right? But how many would continue to use it if they knew it worked? Now that's something I can't answer, but I do believe there is a decent number of people who would continue to use it in a similar way to Light Yagami and Death Note. Probably not as successfully and as clever as Light, but similar nonetheless. Or they would just go mad with grief, probably one of the two. It'd be hard to come back after using a Death Note successfully. Now, Light is neither a good or bad person for a good chunk of this series in my honest opinion, and let me explain why I feel that way. Light has a god complex, it's established right at the beginning of the series. His whole goal is to rid the world of evil and become the new god of Earth. It's a noble ambition, and his plan actually does benefit society. Crime immediately starts to go down in record-breaking numbers, because who would risk a life of crime when it's almost guaranteed someone in the shadows will kill you with a heart attack? But ultimately it's established that Light isn't just doing this to be a hero, he wants to be worshipped like a god, and make general life more interesting for himself, as he was just some bored teenager before. This is why Light is such a fascinating character. I feel most stories would make Light righteous from the very beginning, and then slowly watch him grow more into what he is hunting by the end of the series. But Death Note, they didn't do that. They made him both light and dark, good and evil, or I would say, morally gray. He has a noble goal, rid the world of criminals, but ultimately is driven by selfish gains, being worshipped like a god all while playing this game with his pursuer, L, and other members of the law. Taking the lives of people, it just ends up becoming a game to him fairly quickly, and it goes past just horrible criminals early on as well. It's anyone who gets in his way, more than likely will be killed out of fear of being exposed. To even giving the Death Note to a shady businessman while Light clears his name as countless innocents are murdered, also his master plan won't be ruined. There are so many moments you can point to and say, this is evil, this is morally wrong, and you can't justify this. There is no coming back, and you would be absolutely right. But when that face of evil also ends up fixing the world, or more than likely will fix the world of the crime issues it faces, even if good people are hurt in the process, it's hard to claim he is just some authoritarian leader. but more of the guy getting the job done, just not in a very humane way. That's what I wanted in my characters, those with flaws, and those that make you uncomfortable at times, and Light is very flawed to say the least, and he will make you uncomfortable. More often than not, who he killed probably deserved to live more than him once he went past killing just criminals. But often the series reminds you that throughout all these killings, society is slowly being fixed, or should be fixed, through this notebook and a man with a god complex. The image of Kira clearly is the end justifies the means. With an almost immediate decrease in crime once Light starts killing, it becomes near impossible to convince anyone with this level of power that what it is they are doing is wrong, especially when they have begun to fix crime in a more effective way than their current law system ever could dream of. Light's first kill was a test to see if the notebook worked, and this test actually ended up saving a number of lives. But his second kill is where I think he went past the point of no return and truly became cursed. Despite thinking most people would try the book once, even if in public we say we wouldn't, after that a decent number of people probably would just stop, I'd think, just due to the guilt that many would feel. Taking a life isn't something most would willingly do in normal circumstances, as we built that thought process into our society with morals. However, most, even if we wouldn't publicly say it, would root for the guy cleaning up the streets, even if it was done in not so humane ways. Light says this to Ryuk early in the series. People are rooting for Kira in the shadows because they see what he's doing, but in public they save face by condemning it. Even if Light is clearing up the streets for selfish reasons, the outcome of his goal does benefit society if no one stands in his way, and it's why he gains the support among many people. But of course the law will stand in his way, at least at the beginning. No matter how you look at it, Light is a serial killer. Even if he only killed people that the masses could agree deserve to die, that still makes him a serial killer and deserves to be punished by the law. The cat and mouse chase that is the law tracking down Light is absolutely fantastic. Now it does stall, it grows stale here and there with some characters dying and being replaced with less interesting ones, sure. But what stays consistent is Light and his ever-changing morality. By the end of the series, when Light meets his end, I never walk out thinking, damn, I wish he lived. He deserved that fate. But I was never anticipating it. I was always waiting to see what would he do next. Would he annoy me, anger me, make me question if this is technically a good move for the world, and is he really the hero the world needs even if we don't want to admit it? Light helps the world, but does so in pretty inhumane ways. Someone like him shouldn't rule forever, but someone like him might be the only one capable of pushing the world in the right direction. If Light would have walked out alive at the end of the series, I don't think I would have been any less satisfied than I am currently with the ending that we have. I just appreciate how early Light's morality is brought into question. When he killed Lindell Taylor on TV because he believed it was L coming to hunt him down, it shows the world and the viewer that Light will hurt anyone if he believes that they pose a threat to him. A cornered animal, they will do whatever it takes to save their own life. But it's something many people would do given similar circumstances. People are so varied that some people would give up, some would kill themselves, some would just try to be someone like Light, but the morality of Light's character and what the Death Note does to him is something that is explored exceptionally well. Anytime someone comes into power, it will change them. Certain people will handle power better than others, but it will always change a person in some way, shape, or form, better or for worse. Killing is one of the most surefire ways to change a person, and Light represents this quite well. When Light relinquishes his ownership of the Death Note, he forgets all about his past killings, and this provides for an engaging arc of what will L do now that it appears Light might have actually been used and not actually been Kira all along. One of my favorite conversations in the series is where L tells Light to essentially use Misa to get closer to the second Kira, but lost memory Light refuses to use someone else's feelings for personal gain, even if it means helping the Kira case. Now he doesn't love Misa and Misa loves him. He won't pull her along and exploit her love for him just for the case's gain. He just won't use someone like that, which is the complete opposite to the Light that we and L had come to know. But this is how Light was before he started killing. This is where the curse truly comes into play, not some supernatural curse, but the curse that is immense power and having it consume you, especially if that power falls into the lap of a bored teenager. Light started off as a good person at the beginning of the series. I'd like to think that everyone starts off in the middle, neither good nor evil. Depending on the household we are raised in, that balance shifts one way or another, that in general life experiences. Light being raised in a house where law and order are seen as a good aspect to society, Light clearly was a solid guy and why he really did start off with good ambitions. But once the curiosity took hold, and that notebook killed his first victim, like any who takes a life willingly or unwillingly, it changes you. And we see a steady change in Light's persona, especially when he feels like a god. It's more than just taking a life at this point, he gets to play God. And this will change even the strongest of minds and curse them forever. For someone like Ryuk, this provides the entertainment he was desperately searching for. There are strong arguments to be made why someone like Light is needed for the world. Justice in the general court system is broken quite often. Bad people get away, good people are punished for minor offenses while the real criminals roam the street. Look at Misa, the only reason her parents got justice is because of Kira. But once we remove the one thread holding law and order together, the world easily can and would fall apart. So it's why it can be hard to root for Light. That's why I was neither for nor against him. On one hand, I thought he was wrong at times killing people just doing their jobs, or even those close to him. But then on the other hand, I realized that even if he killed 1 million people, or even 10% of the world's population, good and bad people alike, if that changed the world for the better, is it truly the wrong outcome? Can the ends justify the means, like Light believes? It's just a fictional series, but when a story can keep you thinking for each episode or chapter, you know it did something right. Now, as I've mentioned, the general person, they won't kill more often than not. We as a society have built this thought process into our DNA that killing is taboo, and I'm very thankful for this. The laws of the world try to punish those who commit crimes. Anyone can easily find tools to end a life, but you will be caught in modern day. It's nearly guaranteed, or at least that's how most of us think. With a death note, a device that can kill from your own room, leaving no evidence, everything changes. You remove the barriers that stop people from passing their own judgment due to the fear of being caught, and all that remains is your own morals. This is why Death Note is such a great concept, as even though it's focused on Light for the entire ride, the viewer will always question, what would they do put in Light's shoes? There are strong points to be made on both sides, whether Light is a good or bad guy, and depending on the episode, you'll probably change your opinion. But for me, Light represents both the best and worst in all of us, and what happens when all we are left with is our own morals keeping us from taking justice into our own hands. The idea of wanting to change the world and bring everlasting peace no matter the cost, but also the selfishness and fear that can easily take hold if you give a human the power of a god. That's why I love how questionable Light is as a character, and why Death Note remains so endearing to me even after all these years. When you get me to sit on the sidelines watching your main character and not take sides, you probably have sold me on the series forever. I think if Light never came into contact with the Death Note and Ryuk, he probably would have been the world's greatest detective. But throw the power of a death god in front of anyone and what would happen? Light, I think, handled it the best out of any. He did benefit society to a certain degree, even if he did go completely mad by the end. Once Light killed his first victim, his life was cursed forever. And how the series managed to tackle what it means to be human as we watch the downward spiral of the honor-roll student to the mad serial killer is pretty amazing. But I'd love to know what you thought of the morality of Death Note and how it was portrayed, so let me know your thoughts down in that comment section below. As well, remember to like the video if you did enjoy, and also be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new. You can also check out my Patreon to help directly support the channel if you want to go the extra mile. But until next time everyone, please take care, and y'all have a good one.